No one noticed the new servant when she entered the hall of continuance. That was the point. She wore the muted gray of palace laborers, the fabric deliberately loose, the insignia deliberately removed. Her crown was gone, her radiance suppressed beneath layers of biocloaking fields and neural dampeners. Even her posture, once regal and commanding, had been carefully altered into something smaller, quieter, forgettable. To everyone else, she was just another worker assigned to refill chalices and sweep the polished obsidian floor. But she was Empress Lyriath Valkyrin, sovereign of the Aurelian Concord, ruler of 47 systems, and she was hunting for the truth. The humans had been part of the Concord for less than 2 decades, yet already their reputation unsettled the older races. They were emotionally volatile, physically fragile, and dangerously unpredictable. Some called them naive. Others called them monsters in waiting. Lyriath called them interesting, especially one of them, Commander Elias Ward. He had arrived at the palace as a military advisor after a joint campaign against the Drathic swarm. He held no noble blood, no political title, yet reports followed him like shadows. He refused rewards, spoke plainly to rulers, treated queens like people instead of icons. And worst of all, he had looked Lyriath in the eyes during a council session and felt familiar. Not odd, not fearful, familiar. That alone was enough to demand investigation. So she disguised herself. She observed him first from a distance. Elias moved through the palace halls with an easy confidence that wasn't arrogance. He greeted guards by name. He thanked servants. He listened more than he spoke. That bothered her. Power was supposed to distort behavior. Humans were not immune to hierarchy, yet he acted as if titles were irrelevant. Today, she would test him. She approached as he stood alone near a balcony overlooking the capital city below, its floating spires bathed in golden twilight. He rested his hands on the railing, his expression distant. Lyriath picked up a tray and deliberately stumbled as she neared him. A crystal decanter tipped. She expected irritation, dismissal, perhaps a sharp command. Instead, Elias turned instantly and caught the decanter mid-fall. "You okay?" he asked, steadying the tray before anything shattered. Lyriath froze for half a heartbeat. No one ever asked that of her. "Yes," she replied, lowering her gaze. She had practiced the accent, the cadence. "Thank you, Commander." He smiled faintly. "You don't have to call me that. Elias is fine." "Interesting." She nodded and pretended to adjust the tray. "You stand here often." "Helps me think," he said. "Hard not to feel small when you look at all this." "Small?" she echoed carefully. "Yeah," he said, gazing at the city. "In a good way. Reminds me that no one really owns the universe." Lyriath felt something stir beneath her suppressors. Dangerous words. "Do you not fear the Empress?" she asked, watching him closely. He laughed softly. "Fear's the wrong word." She tilted her head. "Then what is the right one?" "Respect," he said after a moment. "Curiosity. Maybe concern." "Concern," she pressed. "She carries the weight of millions," he said. "Anyone who does that alone deserves concern." Lyriath had to look away. No one had ever described her that way. Over the following days, she continued her role. She brought him meals, cleaned nearby chambers, passed him in corridors. And every time, Elias treated her the same. He noticed when she was tired, offered water when she lingered too long. Once, when she dropped a data pad, he knelt to retrieve it before she could react. A human kneeling for a servant. Her advisors would have called it weakness. Lyriath began to suspect it was something else entirely. One evening, she escalated the test. She found him in the palace infirmary, seated beside a wounded soldier from another species, his translator struggling to bridge the gap. Lyriath approached quietly, listening. "You don't need to understand every word," Elias was saying gently. "Just know you're not alone." The soldier's eyes glistened. Lyriath's chest tightened. She waited until Elias stepped into the corridor before speaking again. "Why do you do that?" she asked. "Do what?" he replied.
"Care," she said.
"When you gain nothing from it." He studied her for a long moment. "Who said I gain nothing?" he asked. She hesitated. "I don't understand." "That's okay," he said. "Most people don't." The test was failing. Or succeeding. Lyriath began to dread the final step, because she already knew the outcome. The reveal came sooner than planned. A political incident erupted during a council session. Accusations flew. Threats were made. Elias stood among the delegates as tension spiked. Lyriath watched from behind the servant's veil. Then someone insulted the Empress. A calculated slight. Subtle, but deliberate. Elias stiffened. Before any guards moved, he spoke. "That's enough." The chamber fell silent. "You speak of the Empress as if she were a symbol," Elias continued. "She's not. She's a person. And she's carried this alliance farther than anyone else in this room." Lyriath felt her breath catch. He was defending her. Without knowing. Without reward. The insulted noble sneered. "You presume much for a human." Elias met his gaze.
"No.
I just recognize integrity when I see it." That was the moment. Lyriath stepped forward. The disguise dissolved in a shimmer of light. Gray cloth transformed into flowing iridescence. The suppressors disengaged. Her crown unfolded like living starlight. Gasps echoed through the hall. Every being dropped to one knee, except Elias. He stared, shock clear on his face, not at her power, but at her eyes. "You," he whispered. Lyriath approached him slowly. "Yes," she said softly. "Me." The guards tensed. Elias swallowed. "You were the servant." "I was," she said. "And you knew." He shook his head. "Not consciously." "But," she prompted. "But I felt it," he admitted. "Something familiar. Like talking to someone who sees the same sky you do." The room was frozen. Lyriath turned to the court. "This human recognized my soul when stripped of crown and command," she declared. "Not my power. Not my title. Me." Silence reigned. She faced Elias once more. "Did you treat me kindly because you believed I was weak?" she asked. "No," he said immediately. "I treated you kindly because you were there." A tremor passed through her. That night, she summoned him privately. "No guards. No titles. You passed a test you never knew you were taking," she told him. Elias exhaled slowly. "Am I in trouble?" She smiled, a real one. "No," she said. "You are seen." Ending. The weeks that followed reshaped the Concord in ways historians would struggle to explain. Lyriath changed how servants were addressed, how advisors spoke, how silence was used, not as fear but as space to listen. She began appearing without ceremony, walking among her people as herself. And Elias Ward remained at her side, not as a subject, not as a symbol, but as an anchor. One evening, standing beneath the palace's open sky, Lyriath spoke quietly. "You recognized me when I was nothing," she said. "That is why I trust you when I am everything." Elias looked at her, not kneeling, not towering, just standing. "You were never nothing," he replied. The Empress of 47 systems felt something ancient loosen its grip on her heart. For the first time in centuries, she was not alone. And the galaxy would never be the same.